Nothing is as it seems. Vietnam War. What was it really about? What was it truly about? Now let's talk about the cave they just found. The cave you're looking at now. It's called Sun Doong. It was found in central Vietnam. So now we had this big old Vietnam War going on. And believe me, the Vietnam War is violent, vicious, and strange. So let me ask you this. What's the coincidence of this big war going on, a war which people still to this day, don't know why it went on? Yet there's this cave, the hugest cave, the cave that reportedly can fit the entire state building in it. The Tacoma Dome, the King Dome, the biggest cave on earth that supposedly was only found out about in 1995, but that's strange to me because the Vietnamese committee in America raised war on Vietnam. And they say it was to push weapons and make money off weapons and get all this, but that doesn't make sense because you're destroying your own resources. So what was this war really about? This bloody, vicious war. I'm more inclined to believe that it has something to do with Sun Doong. Now, a lot of people don't know that Russia was actually involved in the Vietnam War. We was backing up the South, and they was backing up the North. And not far from them, this beautiful cave. This cave that has its own rainforest, it has lakes, it has trees, it has everything. It's just within reach of these people's war. So like I said, America was back in the South and Russia was back in the North. Like I explained before, when something's going on, you don't quite know exactly why it's going on till years later. Like the reason they killed Bruce and then they flooded America with obesity, with his influence that he had. So now we see the Vietnam War, we can never quite wrap our mind around it. But now we see these caves that supposedly they didn't know about till 1995. But at the same time, there's folklore about what's in these caves. There's these beasts that they call cave rocks. They're supposed to be related to the Yeti. These are the tales of these lands from the Vietnamese and the American soldiers. When American soldiers first came in, they thought it was just propaganda. They thought it was just BS, them trying to scare or some folklore, until they was reportedly in battles with these ape-like creatures. Now, if you look at this map, you can look how big that this cave is, but what you don't understand is the space that you're seeing is huge. But now the Vietnam War, which Agent Orange was used, chemicals was used, napalm was used in this war. So what was really going on in Vietnam? Now, with addition to the rock men, there's also, and I don't even like going here, but this is their reports, reptilian type creatures that are in these caves. So what is this napalm? What is this Agent Orange? What is this really about? What was it really for? What was this destruction truly about? And now you see the cave. The first person that supposedly went in the cave is in 2009. They didn't know about the cave till 1995, supposedly. Yet there was folklore about creatures and beings and even tribes living down in this cave. The name of this cave is Sun Doong. So put that in your mental Rolodex and think about the next time somebody tries to tell you that Eden didn't never exist or a place like Atlantis didn't never exist. We have not discovered everything that is in this earth, under this earth. We have not yet discovered the whole earth. There's still land to uncover. Why was Vietnam so important? Why did it take superpowers on each side to fight over this little mass of land? You have to open your eyes to see what this was really about. There's something going on in the earth. This is definitely the age of information. But just because it's the age of information doesn't mean all the information put out is going to be right. To be honest, you gotta have a BS meter. You have to have a bullshit meter to be able to quickly get rid of the fake news and the fake stories that's going on. Because there's more fake stories going on than real ones. But Vietnam was real. I knew people in Vietnam. Vietnam was real. People died in Vietnam. People were tortured in Vietnam. People were taken prisoner in Vietnam. And Vietnam lasted for a long time. Over what? One thing that's for certain about the U.S. government, they admit to their lies. They declassify stuff and admit to their lies all the time. And if it's not a lie they're telling, it's mum's the word. They just won't answer. No comment. That's the best way to go to me. No comment. Because once people see you lying, how could you go back and trust that? There's all kind of ghost stories about Vietnam. I know people personally that was in Vietnam. I knew people that was talking about being stalked and being haunted. I'll go on to tell you this story real quick. My teacher had told me him and his buddies was out there in Vietnam. Also said that they was getting crazy diseases out there. Stuff that would normally cure, like in America, wouldn't cure them there. But he said that they was up all night. The Exorcist book had just came out. They was reading the Exorcist book, and as soon as they started reading that, all kind of crazy noise started happening. The dude had woke them up. They had heard crazy noise. There's been all kind of crazy stories about what went on in Vietnam. Then there was the aliens. Well, I won't say aliens. I'll say then there was the spaceships. Now, they haven't went all through these caves yet, so nobody knows what lurks behind, but they believe there's actual tribes in there. They believe there's animals living in there. We know where there's water, there are insects. Where there's water, there is animals. That's just the truth. Where there is water, there is people. People will eventually find water. But there's no mistake about it that they knew this place was there, and it makes sense to me that this is what that war was about. But we out the loop, we out the race. So what do I mean by that? We're out of the loop and out of the race. While these countries are battling, warring over lands that we don't even know exist. We don't even have a country. We don't even have a nation. We're scattered abroad. We're scattered around. And in fact, we're scattered brains because we're cut off from our identity. Now let's dwell deeper into this Vietnam War and understand that there was two sides. There's a power struggle. There's two sides, but multiple countries on two sides. So on the north, you had Russia and China and communist countries backing up the North Vietnamese armies. And in the south, you had America, Australia, Thailand, and many other nations that were against communists. But the battle couldn't be just over this land and what was going on in Vietnam unless it includes this cave that they want to discover, that they want something to do with. You see how that worked? These countries warring over the cure to eternal life damn near. And we, as nowhere in the mix, we're nowhere in the mix. Not only do we not have a country, but we don't have strong communities and cities. Now, I am adamant that this war had nothing to do with capitalism or communism. I believe that those was just the two different sides that was warring over Sun Doong or Sun Doong. Another interesting fact about Sun Doong or Sun Doong, however you want to pronounce it, in Vietnam. Now, Vietnam, the Viet Cong dug these tunnels, which American soldiers, Australian soldiers, volunteers would have to go through. They'd go through with a pistol, a 22. Anything louder than that would have them deaf for hours. They'd literally be deaf. These tunnels are so big, these tunnels are so vast, that some of them even included hospitals. I just don't think it's a coincidence that these vast tunnels existed in a place where a vast cave existed. And I believe this was all to deter, or stop, I should say, America and its allies from reaching said cave. It was like a huge maze for them. Now in these caves, there were booby traps. I mean, from complex like grenades and, even nail grenades and stuff like that to actual snakes. They put snakes, poisonous snakes, starving snakes up in these tunnels. Now it's time to open both eyes wide open because of this has to stop. And we got to start using the old muscle, the old brain to put these facts together, because that war never made sense to me until right now. You understand, the Vietnamese believed in these creatures, these so-called reptilians and all these beasts that roam here so much that America thought they could fool them with a ghost tape. Yes, America produced a ghost tape and made it sound like that their dead comrades were calling them, telling them to go back. It was mental warfare. Now I'll end this with saying all praises to the Most High God. Sun Doong was the battle for Vietnam. Fact or cap? Y'all let me know what you think in the chat.